Everything we know about Natlan Genshin Impact 5.0. Min Sleeve, the wonderful Min Sleeve, is going to educate us on everything we've missed. Well, no, everything we know about Natlan. Sorry, there was a fly. Alright, let's go.
Really strange happening with Natlan.
What?
And it has me questioning
Let me know if the
a lot of
volume's
the
good, chat.
information I previously knew about this region. We're finally getting a main storyline where the Abyss is taking front and center stage. But now I'm wondering if Malvika...
Can I just say as well, I'm so excited for that. I've been saying for a very long time, by the way, and I hope this happens. I would love the fact that we have video's a bit quiet. All right, I can up it. The fact that we have our conquest for like 3 patches or 4 patches, and then the other 4 to 5 patches or whatever are dead patches for the most part in terms of main quest. I think it'd be very cool if those filler patches were actually like, so 0.0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 are all pretty important. Clearly, we're going to have in Natlan, right? 0.5 could be an Abyss-focused patch. 0.6 could be a Celestia-focused patch. Patch 7 could be a Dainsleaf quest specifically. Patch 8 could be the Hexen Circle quest because that's what they are, the summer events. And then we're straight back into the action with the next region, you know? I think that'd be sick. Fill up every single patch with banger content, dude.
Malvika is even the Pyro Archon because of one key detail that was mentioned in the 5.0 livestream. But let's not get ahead of
the fact that we're not getting the pyro element for the statue.
ourselves. Natlan is the Pyro Nation located west of the Sumeru Desert according to
Why do I feel like Bran is an awesome content creator? Thank you, paid chatter.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Natlan is the Pyro Nation located west of the Sumeru Desert according to the NPC Augustus Loveless. Its geography consists of rainforests, hot springs, and volcanoes. Please, please, please don't be like the Elden region in Breath of the Wild because I hate it.
Oh god, same.
People of Natlan are grouped into 6 tribes, 3 of which are the Huitzilan,
Same.
the Nanatskayan, and the Metzli. The Nanatskayan tribe work as miners near Natlan's border with Sumeru. The Huitzilan tribe are explorers and messengers. The Metzli tribe live in the springs, serve as guides, and were once cartographers. Natlan is said to be rich in obsidian and metal ores who have divine flame and quality above those of the other regions. Each tribe is represented by Saurians according to the teaser trailer.
Give me obsidian armor skins for like every character, dude. I'd cop.
And Saurians are the dragons who have undergone long years and development and evolution. As of now, they coexist with humans. If you didn't know, Vishaps will eventually evolve into true dragons, and dragons were the original species of Tevat. More on that in a sec. According to the livestream, Natlan has had numerous run-ins with the Abyss throughout its history. It sounds like more than any other region we've been to so far. Something known as the Sacred Fire burns eternally to keep Natlan safe from the invasion of the Abyss. This sacred fire represents the indomitable spirit of the people and many heroes who have passed on the fire to future generations with their spirit and strength.
Yeah, people have
Speaking
won.
of fire, pyro works a little differently in this new nation. Natlan has a widely present and unique substance called phlogiston, and it exists in different forms.
What a name, by the way, phlogiston. I feel like that's so like Brit coded for some reason. It feels good to say in a British accent. Phlogiston.
Phlogiston is an advanced form of the pyro element that is used as an energy source in combat and in rituals. The earliest records of Natlan's history is found in the battle pass weapon, the talking stick. More than 1,000 years ago, Natlan faced a major crisis where a turbid black tide welled up from the horizon. The owner of the talking stick was Tenoch, a warrior from Natlan who was expelled from his former tribe. I always wondered why this weapon was called the talking stick, and it turns out that Tenoch used this claymore to mediate any conflicts and discussions. Tenoch would assemble the
You can't talk unless you hold the talking stick, dude. You learned that in circle time in school.
strongest warriors from each of the 6 tribes to combat this impending darkness. The first recruits would be his former traveling partner, the great runner Wanjiru, and her companion Kayeke. The next to join were Menilek, who saw Tenoch as a brother, and his companion Ngumbu. Next was Sanhash Kampore and his companion Mahamba. It's implied that Sanhash Kampore has prophetic abilities and would foresee Tenoch's and his own heroic deaths. The result of this battle against darkness would create the Mare Javari, the Sea of Ashes where the wind does not blow. The fourth to join the fellowship.
And what do we know about the wind not blowing? That would mean memories also don't leave that place, right? Because if you according to Venti, right, and obviously we're still waiting on Venti's second story quest. But if you die where the wind doesn't blow, it means there's nothing to carry your memories because the wind carries memories. That's how Venti usually, like, in the events and stuff where people hear their past loved ones who have passed and everything, he uses the power of Animo, the wind, to bring those memories back to the people. So if you die the Medjugorje, you're dead. It's true death. Yeah, true death.
The warriors are the young Burkina and his companion Kongomato. The fifth to be persuaded was Sunjata, the then chief of the Naniskayan clan where Kachina comes from. Chief Sunjata was the one to allegedly petition the Pyro Archon to excommunicate Tenoch from his tribe. But since this battle might be their generation's final battle, Sunjata agrees to join with his...
Do you want to know what I thought as soon as I saw this, by the way? I like to imagine there was actually 3 of these on the desk in front of her on the table, and she sold 2 of them in the stupid gamba that happens also in, was it Liua with that scam artist dude? Yeah, I have a feeling Mavuika's a scammer.
Final battle, Sunjata agrees to join with his companion Muhuru. So if you notice from this dialogue, every hero had a companion who are most likely the Saurians of all these warriors.
True.
Since names like Kayeke and Ngubu are names of cryptids or creatures in folklore. The
Do y'all think people are gonna think Paimon's our Saurian?
final member of the fellowship is Tenoch's old rival, Tupac. With all the tribe's finest warriors, Tenoch and his comrades crashed into the mountains of darkness. Although their fate is unknown, it's heavily implied that some of these warriors, like Tenoch and Sanhaj Kompore, were killed. It's not revealed yet what event
F in the chat.
this actually was. All we know is that it occurred after the Archon War and before the Cataclysm and Conria's fall. If we had to speculate, it could be another case of divine knowledge going haywire like in Sumeru or abyssal corruption in general. However, there is an artifact set that might reveal what this darkness was. The lore in the Unfinished Reverie details the story of a tyrant king who was defeated by the heroes of Natlan. Note that these heroes are different from the story of Tenoch and his warriors, and there's some evidence to insinuate that this war against the Tyrant King took place before Tenoch's final battle. In this artifact set, it's revealed that at some point Natlan had interest in Conrian tech, denoted by the phrase "a black shadow shrouded the sun," a phrase commonly associated with Conria's Eclipse dynasty. The wine flask over which the plan was hatched states that the king excavated gargantuan, beastly constructs, all to fulfill his ambitions. When the king allegedly probed the secrets of Conria, he lit a great fire, intending to burn it all and all who knew of it, burying all together with the ruins behind the stone gate. Stone gate, like the door to Conria that's...
Or the stone gate that we see Mavuika into, like where the 6 primal fire orbs things are.
Found under the Sumeru deserts? Is this Natlan king's insanity and the darkness that spread throughout Natlan perhaps tied to forbidden knowledge or abyssal corruption, much like King Deshret of Sumeru? Some of the heroes from this battle against the Tyrant King are pretty badass. I just have to share some of them. The Scarlet-Eyed hero was the leader of these heroes, and his background is extremely enigmatic. He was described as having come from the mysterious smoke, and when it was time for rebellion, he summoned the god's fiery wrath to burn down the city. After completing his duty, he returned to the sacred flames. He died. Now, before you speculate if this Scarlet-Eyed hero is Fatui Harbinger Il Capitano...
Dude! Man, you know me too well. You know me and probably the rest of the Genshin community too fucking well, dude. I was literally just about to... Hold on.
Rebellion, he summoned the god's fiery wrath.
I was about to say, dude, what if... if Capitano is the Cryo Dragon, the Cryo Sovereign, just calling down the god's fiery wrath could literally be calling down Nibelung's fiery wrath, right?
His background is extremely enigmatic. He was described as having come from the mysterious smoke, and when it was time for rebellion, he summoned the god's fiery wrath to burn down the city. After completing...
Wait, Capitano has blue eyes. We know that from Mika. I don't trust a fucking word Mika says. Listen, bro's had about 10 voice lines. I don't trust shit.
In his duty, he returned to the sacred flames. He died. Now, before you speculate...
he died.
If this Scarlet-Eyed hero is Fatui Harbinger Il Capitano reborn or something, Mika's character story 4 describes Capitano as having eerily dark blue eyes that seem to glow with an uncanny aura.
I mean, that does make sense with this stuff. But could that also mean that then if Capitano is the Cryo Sovereign, could that mean that the fiery red eyes, if they burn with like the same hue, then it could have been the Pyro Sovereign? Yes.
Unless, I don't know, his eyes change color when his powers are activated or something.
True.
But for now, it seems to rule him out as a reborn Scarlet-Eyed hero. Yupanqui was another hero in the Unfinished Reverie story who sought peace between humans and Saurians during a time when Saurians were enslaved. He was ultimately burned to death by the Tyrant King, but died satisfied that the rebellion would be able to create the new world that they all had yearned for. The Masterful Craftsman is also a really mysterious figure in the Unfinished Reverie story, and he was a skilled artisan who was recruited by the king when he went excavating ancient, possibly Conrian ruins. He narrowly escaped the king's destruction of the ruins and was disfigured from the flames. He joins the Scarlet-Eyed hero in the fight against the king, and the Masterful Craftsman is actually the mastermind behind the rebellion. Unfortunately, he is killed, leaving a Nanatskayan girl named Sakuk as the only survivor of the rebellion. Natlan is freed from their tyrant, but Sakuk becomes a recluse in the mines.
Okay,
Her
let's go.
final order was for the tribes to destroy any records with the Masterful Craftsman's name in it, meaning his legacy as the mastermind behind the rebellion would be lost to time. Girl, on the topic of names, there's something I briefly want to talk about from the livestream, and this information has me a little messed up. The livestream mentioned that only those who triumph over the abyss can earn the right to be revived.
Yes.
Defeat not only means death, but also the destruction of your ancient name, preventing it from being inherited again. This is a familiar callback to the 4.8 Summertide Scales event. Be warned, spoilers ahead. For the sake of context, Durin is the giant dragon skeleton that you see with the heart still beating in Dragonspine. He was a dragon created by an alchemist named Reindotir, and against his will, he caused the destruction of Mondstadt until he was killed by Dvalin. The Simulanka is a world created by the Hexenzirkel witches Alice, Barbaloth, and Anders Lotir. Out of remorse for real-life Durin's situation, Anders Lotir creates mini...
Very sad topic here, by the way, chat, but did you all hear? I think I'm getting this right, but I saw I think it was the Japanese Genshin account tweet out earlier that the voice actress for, I think it was Ryandotter, passed away, dude. Very fucking sad. Very sad.
Durin in order for him to have a chance at a better life in Simulanka. Barbaloth warns Anders Lotir that by giving Mini Durin the name of real-life Durin, he will endure the same hardships in Simulanka as his namesake did in Tevat. This seems to be what's happening with Natlan's concept of ancient names. The victories of heroes are carved into obsidian as ancient names, and it's through these ancient names that deeds and spirits of heroes are passed down. However, if your ancient name is destroyed, there's no coming back. In Act 1 of Natlan's Archon quest, Traveler will participate in the Pilgrimage of the Return of the Sacred Flame, held in the Stadium of the Sacred Flame. Among the contestants are the 3 Natlan starter heroes, Kachina, Mwalani, and Kinich.
The 3 starter heroes, dude. Ain't no
Kachina
way.
is a true ancient name bearer of the Nanatskayan tribe, and her ancient name is Utabiti. Many heroes once bore this name as well, and it's her duty to represent her tribe during the pilgrimage. I also wonder if victory over the pilgrimage will grant the winner a new ancient name? Is this what's being referenced in Natlan's first teaser trailer title, A Name Forged in Flames? So to quickly recap, possibly thousands of years ago, the Scarlet-Eyed hero and his warriors defeated the Tyrant King of Natlan. Then years or even centuries after that, Denosh and his heroes fought to protect Natlan from an unknown darkness, possibly the remnants from Natlan's previous war with the Tyrant King. According to the livestream, it took the combined efforts of the previous Pyro Archon and heroes from every tribe to finally repel the Abyss. So battles like this seem to have been happening throughout Natlan's history. The effects of the Abyss invasion on Natlan has lingered for hundreds of years, only able to be reversed little by little. In a blink and you'll miss it moment, the trailer actually shows a celestial nail in Natlan, and allegedly
Dude, I
these
can't
were
believe I
devices
missed
meant
that.
to stop the flow of abyssal corruption. The current Archon Mavuika was said to have achieved an overwhelming victory over the Abyss, or so it seems. Through the nation's long history of fighting the Abyss, apparently things seem to have taken a drastic turn for the worst in the present. Apparently, Natlan is on the verge of destruction, and it's possible that the nation has less than a year before total devastation. The Abyss has invaded the Night Kingdom, and has the capacity to read the memories of this land at any given moment. The
Which is
Natlan Archon
crazy, by
quest
the
might
way.
revolve around us visiting this Night Kingdom. Now, I was personally freaking out about the mention of the Night Kingdom because of one of my favorite books in all of Genshin, The Pale Princess and the Six Pygmies. This book talks about a Night Mother who was the source of all sins, and the Land of the Night was the embodiment of all her evilness. I'm wondering if this Night Kingdom has anything to do with this so-called Night Mother. It'd be a really cool full circle moment since the Pale Princess is one of the first books you encounter in the entire game. In fact, the information is so important that Lisa entrusts the safety of this book to you indefinitely. In order for the Natlan heroes to unlock their full potential, they use something called the Night Soul's Blessing. It's also said that Natlan vision holders can communicate with their tribe's Wayob and ley lines. These abilities might be tied to this mysterious Night Kingdom, and the Abyss's need to invade it to have the power to read all the nation's memories. We're not exactly sure what else happened to Natlan after these battles took place, but we can make some assumptions based on the Genshin Impact webcomic series, which you can read for free on the official Genshin Impact website or on webtoon.com. The earlier chapters of the webcomic feature Vanessa, a hero from Natlan. This story takes
Hell yeah, they do, dude.
Vanessa's so sick.
place 1,000
She's
years
so
before
cool,
the start
dude.
of Genshin's story. For unknown reasons, Vanessa and her tribe, the Children of Murata, wandered the plains for many generations and were recently being chased by a dragon known as Ursa the Drake. Ursa would be the monster to later kill Kaya and Diluc's father, Kapus Ragenvinder. Vanessa and her tribes
Kappas?
the monster to later kill Kaya and Diluc's father, Kapus Ragenvinder.
Oh, crap.
Vanessa and her tribe sought
Rip, bozo.
refuge in Mondstadt, which would prove to be a huge mistake. The Lawrence family at that time were tyrants, and Vanessa and her tribe would become slaves to the Lawrence family. Venti would later aid Vanessa in freeing Mondstadt from the Lawrence tyranny. As a result, Vanessa would become one of Mondstadt's 4 winds, the Falcon of the West. She would also become one of 2 people in the entire history of Genshin to ascend to Celestia, the other being Guhua from the Yue. We can assume that Vanessa and her tribe left Natlan and wandered the plains for many generations after Tenoch and the warriors' battle with darkness. But wait, there's something strange going on. Vanessa and her tribe don't even know who Murata is. Venti had to be the one to tell her that she was a Muratan, or a child of Murata, the Pyro Archon. She belonged to a hardy tribe who lived in the
Murata, yeah, it's a mistranslation, chat, for those of you that aren't aware. Apparently, Murata isn't what the name actually was. But yeah, maybe just the child of Natlan, yeah, if that makes more sense, I guess.
the volcanic slopes of Natlan and were blessed with a head of fiery red hair. Vanessa's tribe did wander the wilderness for several generations, which accounts for them eventually forgetting the Pyro Archon. However, if Vanessa and her tribe were known as the Children of Murata, and if Murata is the name of the Pyro Archon during Venti's time, then why would the Pyro Archon allow her people to wander the wilderness destitute and potentially in harm's way? Is the Pyro Archon paying attention? Is she even alive? This is what we know about the Pyro Archon, or rather, the Pyro Archons, plural. According to Ganyu in the
God.
Media Archon quests, when the Archon War came to its end 2,000 years ago, the first iteration of the 7 would gather in the Yue and drink with Rex Lapis. But 5 of those original 7 had already passed. When she said this, Ruka Devata didn't control Alt Delete herself from the Irminsul yet. This means everyone in the original lineup of the 7 Archons, except for Zhongli and Venti, are now gone. Murata could have been the first Pyro Archon and the Archon up until the unknown darkness that struck Natlan and caused Vanessa's tribe to leave, but she most likely isn't the current Pyro Archon.
No.
In the 5.0 livestream, it's revealed that Mavuika is the current Pyro Archon. She's considered the strongest in all of Natlan, and the tribes look to her as an ultimate source of strength and guidance. The inspiration behind Mavuika's name comes from the Maori fire god Mahuika, who is the wife of Awahituroa, the god of comets and origin of fire. She is the figure from which the hero Maui obtained the secret of making fire. But do you want to hear something that might blow your mind? Murata might not exist at all. And this is actually worse than Irminsul erasure. Yuka V2 on Twitter, as well as other native speakers, have pointed out that Murata might actually be a mistranslation.
Sadly,
After all,
yes.
the only place we see Murata mentioned in Genshin is in the webcomics, which came out in November 2018. 2 years before Genshin's official release date of September 2020. To summarize the thread, Genshin's original name for Natlan might have been Mu Natlan, which the transcribers of the webcomics
Natlan.
interpreted as Murata, the possible Honkai XP that would end up being the supposed Pyro Archon. This isn't the first time mistranslations have happened before. In fact, one of the biggest recent examples was a Sumeru Act 5 Archon quest, Akasha Pulses, the Kalpa Flame Rises.
Oh, yeah.
Which allegedly should have been the truth amongst the pages of Purana quest
Don't know how the fuck you get from one to the other there, but yeah, that was a thing.
name teased in the
That was a
trivial
thing.
trailer. You see how big of a mistranslation that was? So, if Murata doesn't actually exist in Genshin Impact, then we have even less information on the original/previous Pyro Archon. But take this information of Murata not existing with a huge grain of salt. Super speculative, so it's just a possibility to take into account. Now on to the biggest speculation that's been bothering me the entire live stream. Is Mavuika even the Pyro Archon? There's one key detail in the 5.0 live stream that's been keeping me awake for the past 12 hours since it was mentioned. Usually when we enter a new region, we're able to resonate with the nation's element. But in Natlan, when the traveler first resonates with the statues of the Seven, traveler cannot immediately awaken the power of the pyro element. This is supposedly related to the crisis that Natlan has been facing. This makes me think that perhaps Natlan doesn't have a pyro archon at all. This predicament with the statue makes me think there's some kind of incompatibility happening with the archon status.
I still like to think now that we know all the details that it's not actually the archons that give the statues of the Seven the power to grant us, basically. I think it is more likely the sovereigns, because like we say, we can still resonate with the Hydro statue of the Seven to switch to Hydro and stuff, even though there is technically no Hydro Archon. So yeah, I don't know. I think the sovereigns are more likely there.
In the present day, according to Neuvillette, Natlan is a nation of war, and war ravages those lands like an undying flame. Even Capitano has decided to throw his hat into the endless ring of war there. We now know this title Nation of War refers to Natlan's history of countless crises, internal battles, as well as the constant wars with the Abyss. Capitano is said to play a super important role in the storyline. If you think about the possibility that Natlan might not currently have a Pyro Archon right now, Capitano might be potentially fighting for the Archon status. This next portion of the video is going to cover speculations and theories about Natlan, so take this part with a huge grain of salt, please. But before we dive into speculations and theories, here's a word from today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Raid just added a ton of new features.
Not the Raid, dude!
Champions and keepers of Now back to some Natlan theories. Let's start
came out of nowhere, dude. Oh my god, man.
Masked man trying to procure the Pyronosis, maybe for the Fatui, and become the new ruler of Natlan. Let's speculate a little bit about his potential identity. I know there's a long-time theory floating around about Capitano being the Bloodstained Knight, the namesake for the artifact set. But because that story is more Mondstadt related, I'll cover it in another video. Remember the masterful craftsman from the Unfinished Reverie? He's the hero who orchestrated the rebellion against Natlan's ancient tyrant king, but for some unknown reason, his name was scrubbed from any Natlan records, and there's a huge probability that it wasn't saved as an ancient name in Obsidian. He was horribly burned by the flames of the Tyrant King, so I just want to entertain the possibility that this man could be Capitano, and that's why Capitano wears a mask. But there's something that has me confused. It appears that Capitano has scales? Oh, yo, what does this mean? Is he a dragon? And is that the reason why he's immune to Natlan's heat, even in his very demure, very mindful getup? Even if he's not the masterful craftsman...
what is this very demure that's going on, by the way?
I desperately need to know more about this mysterious hero. The next bit will contain spoilers for the 4.8 Summertide Scales event, so be warned. In this event, we learned that Dragonspine Durin might come back to life at some point in the future. The huge skeleton of a dragon whose heart you can still see beating in Dragonspine.
5.2.
Yeah, that. In the past, summer events usually contain a hint or two about the next nation's Archon quest.
Bro, a hint or two? Jesus Christ. Fucking 3.8 literally spoiled the entirety of Fontaine's plot.
So there's a possibility Natlan's Archon quest might see the resurrection of a specific kind of dragon. The Pyro Sovereign. Teyvat was originally home to the dragons and their rulers, the Seven Sovereigns. That was until the god Fanis colonized the planet for humans. Current dragon sovereigns we know of today are Apep, the Dendro Sovereign in Sumeru, and Neuvillette, the reincarnated Hydro Sovereign. With Natlan's release and its story revolving around humans coexisting with dragons, it's highly likely that we'll end up meeting the Pyro Sovereign. Honestly, I'm down to meet any of the sovereigns in 5.x. Speaking of characters or NPCs I'd potentially like to see in Natlan, does the name Xbalanque sound familiar to you? If you didn't know, Hoyoverse likes to tease potentially playable characters or major characters in their social media posts. Xbalanque was first mentioned in Neuvillette's character introduction post on HoYoLab, Facebook, Reddit, and Twitter. Someday when they return, their true ordeal shall begin. Xbalanque, one entombed with the primal fire. This quote is most likely in reference to the dragon sovereigns. There's something interesting to note though. Xbalanque is known as one entombed with the primal fire. And that term primal fire definitely gives me the impression that Xbalanque has some possible associations with the Pyro Sovereign.
Well, it's like if you imagine if imagine Focalor was Focalor, one entombed in the Oratrice Mechanique, then at least cut it. I do have a feeling the Primal Fire is just made up of Xbalanque.
The original ruler of the Pyro element in Teyvat. Don't know if he is the Pyro Sovereign just yet, but entombed is interesting though. Because does that imply that Xbalanque is the one we're going to be resurrecting? Let's speculate just for a little bit.
It's very possible.
Xbalanque and Hunahpu are the Maya twin heroes who defeated the Lords of the Underworld. The theme of resurrection in Natlan reminds me of one potentially important artifact set, the Lava Walker. The feather in the set is said to have come from a phoenix, and I find this to be incredibly symbolic. According to the lore of this artifact set, the Lava Walker was a Natlan sage whose wisdom earned the jealousy of his peers. He was challenged to walk through the Mare Javari, and his peers had hoped that the flames would kill him. In a state of calmness, the Lava Walker strolled into the lava and gradually disappeared into the horizon. He actually ends up surviving, and he spent another 100 years living as a hermit. But later on, while wearing the phoenix feather, the Lava Walker retreated from the outside world. Alone he came, and alone he went, leaving no trace behind. This story is eerily similar to the Scarlet-Eyed Hero who fought against Natlan's Tyrant King potentially thousands of years ago. The Scarlet-Eyed Hero came into the world, completed his job, and just as mysteriously as he arrived, he disappeared. When a phoenix dies, it burns to ashes, and from those ashes, a
F in the chat, senor.
new phoenix reincarnates. It'd be really cool if the Scarlet-Eyed Hero, the Lava Walker, and Xbalanque are all the same person, but like a phoenix, they are different reincarnation cycles.
Maybe also that would make sense with the whole cyclical stories as well, right?
The in the Lava Walker set is called Lava Walker's Torment, and its lore states that sadly, though the Lava Walker did not fear the scorching flames of the Mare Javari, he could not quench the torturing flames of time, indicating that this process of reincarnation seems to be a never-ending cycle of, well, torment. If he's entombed, then he's trapped. How do we free him from this cycle of reincarnation? If you've seen the Natlan teaser trailer, the ballgame
Reweave the threads, baby.
Tepok in Mayan culture, or Tlechli in ancient Mesoamerica. This ballgame is what the IRL Xbalanque and Hunahpu played against the lords of the underworld in Mayan legend. According to Mayan historians, the games may have involved human sacrifice. Although it's popularly believed that the losers were sacrificed to the gods, there's a possibility that the winners were sacrificed instead, since it would have been considered the highest honor. Now, human sacrifice is not a foreign topic at all in Genshin's lore. There's
Poor Rue.
so many instances of it,
Oh,
from world
also
quests to the
Enconomia,
practices
the
of
Sun
Abyss
Children.
Order, and organizations affiliated with it. So, if the plot of the Natlan Archon quest potentially involves resurrecting Xbalanque, or the Pyro Sovereign, or if it's the same entity, if we need to resurrect someone, then what job do we need them to do? Who are we sacrificing to free the entombed Xbalanque? Who is going to be his lucky vessel? But wait, we've seen a phoenix in Natlan already.
True.
Malvika. Does that make her the Pyro Dragon Sovereign? Who or what even is she? And there's something even more interesting. If we're going with the Xbalanque equals the Lava Walker equals
Whatever the Pyro Sovereign is, or the Pyro Archon, I reckon that ability is going to be like the ability that we saw in 4.8 in the event that kind of looked like Nouvelette's charge attack, but more of a straight up beam that just goes pew instead of a charge. Yeah, I think that's sick. And I reckon they're supposed to resemble like Dragon's Breath in a sense, right? Like the Hydro one is like a prrr, and the Pyro one will be like a pew, you know? Yeah.
a Scarlet-Eyed Hero theory, this Scarlet-Eyed Hero may have just exposed himself.
True.
It's said that he summoned the god's fiery wrath to burn down the tyrant city. Then he returned to the sacred flame. Is the Scarlet-Eyed Hero actually one of the Pyro Archons? I'll be covering the future Natlan updates in detail in the following
It's possible.
weeks. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. I'm your Leafy Lord Shira
Man,
and I read the Genshin
you
Impact list that
absolutely
you don't have to.
cooked, dude. There is the video, chat. Go check it out. Min always cooks with the theories. Absolutely banger. 10 out of 10. Would watch again. But sadly don't have time to watch again right now.